Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am Larry, the Batman fan. I hope you guys are doing well today. Today, we're going to be reviewing He-Man Masters of the Universe 2026. I saw this not too long ago in the theaters, and I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good film overall. I know that there are some critics out there that didn't enjoy this movie, but it seems like they just don't understand He-Man or something. I've watched a little bit of the cartoon. I watched a couple episodes here on YouTube for free. So I actually do see why he was wearing a pink shirt in the movie, because in the cartoon, when he was not wearing his warrior clothes, he was wearing an outfit and the shirt was pink and his bottoms were either blue or black. So, the guy that plays him in the movie, what was his name? Something something Stein. I'll leave his name in the comment sections below. I can't think of the name off the top of my head at the moment. But I thought he did a pretty good job as He-Man. I have not seen the one with Dolph Lundgren, or Lundgren, however you pronounce it. So that aside, I went in seeing this movie kind of blind. I've read one or two of the comic books as well. I don't have a lot of the He-Man Masters of the Universe comic books, but I have a few of them, but not a ton, you know what I mean? So the story of it basically is that he was living in some this world called Eternia, and so like there were some good characters in it, but the main villain is Skeletor, and there's this lady friend that he has. It's a sorcerer, a witch, basically. And then he does have these beasts by his side to help him fight, the good guys. So Skeletor is the main villain, but the good guy is played by a guy named Matt in the movie, although he later on at the very end of the movie refers to himself as He-Man, you know what I mean? So Matt and a group of good people are fighting Skeletor and the bad guys. There's some scenes where this black guy played by Idris Elba, I forgot his name in the movie, but he's basically the trainer of the good guys. He trains the kids to fight with swords and weapons and things like that, stabbing weapons. And I thought Idris Elba did a pretty good job in the movie. Not all the black folks that were in this movie did a really good job. Some of them kind of felt flat at times. But I felt like he was a standout character because he really, his performance was done well. And He-Man's character was done well. Skeletor was played by Jared Leto, and surprisingly, I did not know that. Jared Leto has played some other characters in the past and failed miserably. Morbius is one of them. He sucks as Morbius. He sucked as the Joker, So going in and not knowing that, and then find out it was Jared Leto, he did a damn good job as Skeletor. He was very sinister, very dark, but highly believable. He-Man, and anyways, the story is that he gets sucked through a portal by a angel ghost, if you will. That's what I'm referring to her as, because she like Skeletor was trying to kill He-Man when he was a young boy, when he was only about like 9 or 10 years old, right? And out of the bunch, he wasn't very powerful or strong, which is what he's portrayed as there. But she saves his life because she has some like force field over him fighting Skeletor while he's trying to kill him with his wand that had like a skeleton with devil horns on it, But the portal opens and he goes through the portal. He ends up on Earth. The sword, however, he loses control of the sword while going through the portal, and the sword falls out of his hands and ends up like 5 or 6 miles away from where he is. And he decides to not look for the sword for whatever reason, and then he ends up in town, cuts to another scene, kind of goes back and forth from Earth to Eternia at one point of the movie. Later on, you see He-Man, played by, Matt, the main character, Matt. He's referred to as Matt more than He-Man, to be honest with y'all. He's working at a desk job for HR, who was played by a black woman, and there were some other people that he was working with, drinking coffee and Sprite and Pepsi and things like that, Coke, while working and stuff, getting computer work done. But his obsession with swords and stuff ends up leading to him leaving his job and getting fired from his job. Although he goes to find out where the sword is and finds it's in a toy store / comic book shop, and he ends up finding it attached to a beast or a knight, and he ends up pulling it out and stealing it, which those people were not okay with. But he gets arrested, but he's saved by Sheila is her name, who's one of the princesses, I believe, on the good guys team. Comes and saves them, and he evades the cops for some reason, somehow. And there was this giant ass beast that they were evading / sort of fighting for a while in the film. Yeah, there was a lot of good action scenes in this movie. It was done well. They fought that beast on the bridge and shit, and did a really good job. Although they got away from the beast, of course, because they win. There's scenes later on where they got trapped in Skeletor's lair, and he basically threw them all in this dungeon that could not be broken, but somehow they were still able to work together. He-Man gave his lift your spirits up type speech to them to get them to knock that cage down and get out of the Skeletor's lair. Which they do end up fighting Skeletor and the people again. I like I saw this, by the way, in the ScreenX version, because I couldn't see the standard version. They didn't have any showtimes available when I went to go see it, even though online it said that they did. So I paid $17 to see this movie. Was it worth the $17? I would say yes. There were 3 screens in that movie theater, and there were lots of things that were shown that probably were not shown in the standard version of the film. Like, for instance, when they were going into Skeletor's lair and the camera zooming in, you could see all sides. You could see the left side and the right side, plus the giant skull layer that was there. So that was a nice touch. And there were some other scenes that implemented all 3 screens. But if you just saw the standard version, you wouldn't see that. But the He-Man Masters of the Universe, despite what the critics may say about the film, I thought the film was pretty good. There is some touching moments in the film, and there's even a little bit of hinting at romance. He-Man kind of likes Sheila, and he offers to be kind of like a boyfriend to her in this one particular scene, but she rejects him and says, I see you more as just a friend, and I don't see you as a boyfriend in any sort of way, or platonic. I see you as a platonic type person, not in a sexual romance type of way. So he accepts it and agrees. And he wasn't the only one there. It was also the dad. There was a scene in the film also where they were fighting one of Skeletor's men on this bridge, and at first he was getting his butt kicked by the guy, but then when he lifts the sword up in the air and said the magical words, he got the power from the sword, and he just destroyed that guy, just whooped his ass, you know what I mean? That was pretty cool. Excuse me. So yeah, all in all, from the scenes that I saw, the fighting in it and everything, the acting for the most part was spot on, and they did their best to follow the plot and the story of the TV show, the cartoon from the 80s, And overall, I think for the most part they succeeded with this film. Although in the cartoon, you never see them talking about Earth. So, I get it. They needed to have a backstory about Earth and stuff, but it just didn't seem like it worked that well, you know? I know they also added some bad language in the movie too, which makes it PG-13, you know? They didn't want to do this as a PG movie for the kids and stuff, or rated G, you know? They probably couldn't have gotten away with G anyways, because there's always been some violence in He-Man, but I am surprised to see it gets a PG-13 rating. But yeah, the Earth part, the unlikable character was probably HR Lady. I felt she was just blah. Not really that inspiring or interesting to listen to talk. And there were one or two other characters that just weren't that interesting overall. But He-Man definitely shined. Sheila shined, and that guy that trains the kids, the black guy played by Idris Elba, they all did a really good job. And Jared Leto as Skeletor did a really good job as well. There was other characters in it, like the robot that extends his neck, and a guy called Fisto or something with his fist who like punches things. You know, they were all right. They were pretty cool. Other characters, I forget their names, but overall, I think this movie is a decent movie, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 because it wasn't a perfect film by any means, so it cannot be a 10 out of 10. A 9 out of 10 is just not enough because there was still some characters that I felt were a little bit flat, like the sorcerer character, the witch, the bad lady. She wasn't too interesting either, and neither was the HR lady from Earth. And the roommate character that He-Man was friends with, I don't know, he didn't seem too interesting either. The only black guy that really stood out in the movie was played by Idris Elba. No offense to the black folks, I'm just saying. You know, I can tell by their acting if they're really trying or not. So yeah, all in all, it's an 8 out of 10. That's the highest I could give this movie. I definitely recommend you seeing it. You could buy the movie when it comes out in a few months from now, or rent it on YouTube, or maybe Netflix will have it in a few months from now for you to watch and enjoy. But I think overall, this is a good movie, and you should definitely consider seeing it. The movie's rated PG-13 for the action violence in the movie, brief suggestive material, and language. However, the language in the movie, there was one GD bomb, so one misuse of the Lord's name in vain, which is not good. And there was also a few S words, H words, and one or two a-hole words said in the film, and maybe one or two dams, but that's about it for the language. I hope you enjoyed this review, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more gaming videos that are coming up. I am Larry the Batman Fan. Thank you for watching and take care. I hope you enjoyed this movie review.